You do the introduction this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another video of Ask Jess. That guy.
Hey, how we doing?
All right. We're going to be talking about the hottest topic in property this week: interest rates. Of course.
Yeah.
What else is there to talk about?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a bit of a. I think we've entered a new cycle.
Well,
it's not just interest rates, is it? It's a new cycle, and it's feeling very different. It's feeling like Christmas is coming. To be honest, I like Christmas.
Yeah.
Christmas starts. So it's bonfire nights, kind of this weekend. In my household,
Christmas.
Yeah. That's it. I like Christmas to last about 4 months. So yeah, I like Christmas.
All right. Happy days. So
I think this next
is the
period is
question.
going to last longer than 4 months, by the way. So, but
maybe 4 years.
Okay, go on. What's the questions?
Right. So here's the question: Why are you happy that interest rates have risen again this week?
And I am happy about that.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Which it seems odd. And it's not particularly that the interest rates have risen. It's not that. It's not like, well, I'm looking forward to the fact that interest rates have risen. It's not that. It's what that's done and what it's meant. The reason that, going back to some of the other videos we've done the last couple of weeks, I'm not so concerned about it. And actually, I know that Adam written down there has got an update from our mortgage broker. So in the video in a moment, we'll give you the actual facts and figures. But really, things haven't changed that much. In actual fact, the big news is, okay, interest rates might have gone up, but mortgage rates this week are starting to come down. I think we can see where they're going to go, and it's not panic stations in any way, shape or form. So what's happened? When interest rates go up, when the front page of the Sunday Times is the worst or the longest actually, it didn't say the deepest. It was the longest recession since records began, since the 1920s, predicted. Actually, quite a shallow, so long but shallow, predicted. And honestly, I don't think that's news. It might be on the front page this week, but I don't think that's news. All this stuff. Why am I happy about that? Because I am, and that's why you asked the question, I suppose. I sent an all-hands email, and we had a meeting yesterday, rubbing our hands together. I actually said Christmas is coming. Let me tell you a story about middle of lockdown. Our buyer, Julie, outside of property. This is the worst it got. Outside of property, wanting to view that property, and it was hard work to get the views. Forget that this is when restrictions weren't there in between. You were allowed to view these properties, but getting a viewing was really hard. Julie was maybe doing 3 or 4 viewings a month sometimes, and buying a house or maybe 2, which isn't enough. Julie should be buying more than that. And Julie's going to do the physical viewing, but the estate agent's there with their iPhone. And they're doing a viewing round the property on their iPhone, hanging up, then doing another one, then hanging up and doing another one. And on the other end is an investor sat probably hundreds of miles away, probably in London, and they buy that house for £10,000 to £15,000 more than we would pay. And that came to an end. That's what this has done. It's taken all those people out of the market. One of the things that might be on people's minds now is, what about prices and things coming down? That is not our concern. That's not your concern as a buy-to-let investor. You're not buying a house to live in, unless you are, of course. I'm just talking from my point of view, from a landlord's point of view, from an investor's point of view, buying the kind of houses that we buy, which are towards the cheaper end, and they're not going to go down much in price at all. If they did go down a tiny, tiny bit, 5 or 10% over 2 years, that's a few £100s a month. That is not that's not a deal breaker. So we're not sitting around waiting for prices to go down so we can dive in. That's not what we're talking about. Prices aren't going to go down. But what is going to happen is the volume of properties on the market available for us to buy, our kind of houses, is going to go up. And the kind of number of idiots that are out there that are prepared to pay £20,000, £30,000 more than we would ever pay is going to go down. So our pool of properties, we're going to, instead of looking at 5 properties a month and buying 1 or 2, we're going to be looking at 50 and buying 5 or 6. The price we pay actually isn't going to go down or isn't going to change. That's pretty much fixed. We know what the house is worth at the end. We know what renovations are going to cost. Maybe renovations are going to come down a little bit. I am getting reports that builders are calling us up. Actually, you probably know, I'm doing some work at my own house. We're building a YouTube studio and some other bits as well, of course. But yeah, we're also doing nearly £500,000 worth of renovations every month, and we've got a finger on the pulse when it comes to builders. I'm getting builders calling me up saying, I had a couple of the week. Can I help you out doing the plastering on your house? Or can I fit this? Can we fit this? They're looking for work. And Damien telling us the same thing. That's our contracts manager, head contracts manager. So look, that's why I'm happy about all this turmoil and turbulence. It's what it's going to do for the market. So I'm looking forward to it. Christmas is coming. This is the start of a new cycle. I'm really excited. I'm also happy to be proved right. I've just refinanced shed loads of properties, thinking I'm getting this war chest together. And by the way, war chest for me, somebody said, "Well, war chest, you feel like you're under siege." You said, "No, I'm not. I'm going to war. I'm off. I'm invading. It's not like I'm preparing. I'm off. It's not a defensive war chest. It's a offensive war chest." So I know that's a bit mean, and war's bad, and etc. And of course I don't mean it, but I genuinely we've put together this metaphorical war chest, and I think that the next year or so, let's say this takes 2 years, that's something that's worth talking about as well. If this whatever it is, recession, lasts for 2 years, when's the right point to get in?
There's never a wrong or right point to get in.
Well, that is also
get
right.
in.
Now is the answer.
Get in, yeah.
I'm having to dig back into the memory banks of what happened in 2008, 9 and 10, because that's what I was buying then, and it was very different. All recessions have got their own characteristics, haven't they? All downturns have got their own characteristics, and this one will be different again. But the one thing that I know will be true this time, because it was then, and people start talking about the lessons having been learned, and you say, I wasn't around in the previous couple of cycles, but you'd hear people saying, "Oh yeah, this was the same as before." The echoes of, when you recognise it, in now is the time to get in. The people that were piling in when they thought, this is the middle, let's say, it wasn't the middle, it was the end. By the time they were piling in, thinking, now I'm timing it right, it was over. In a 2-year period, you'd be really lucky to recycle one capital pot. You'd be really lucky to do it 3 times. You'd probably do it twice. So if you've got one capital pot to buy one house in 2 years, you'd buy 2 houses, one a year, wouldn't you? Maybe you might recycle it 3 times, maybe. If you've got multiple capital pots, you can recycle through and keep going through. But yeah, so go on, tell us a little bit about what Charlotte's been saying about. This is our mortgage broker, brilliant mortgage broker, got a finger on the pulse. What's she been saying?
I think some of the key takeaways, and she said to me, quote me on this, and if you want to meet her and talk to her, you can. She's able yesterday to get a buy-to-let residential mortgage at 5.6%, and a residential mortgage at 5.6%, and a buy-to-let limited company mortgage at 5.7%.
There you go.
And that's
basically
insane.
That's basically the same.
That's crazy. You mentioned it. Rates have continued to drop. Lenders have dropped some of their rates this week, even though they knew since Monday that the base rate was going up.
That base rate change hasn't made a difference.
They thought they were working it out that they were going to go up by 1%.
Yep. The mini budget, all mortgages got pulled.
Yeah.
A 0.75% increase in the base rate, rates started to just continued to come down throughout the week. Carry on, because I know what else is there.
6 months' time, expect 4.5% realistic. She said to me she submitted 95% less new business in October than she did in September, for obvious reasons, but the number of inquiries that she had was the same, if not slightly higher.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing to take away from it was next year, 2023, 1.8 million properties are coming out of a fixed rate mortgage. So maybe potentially going into some kind of jeopardy. That's a political issue then, isn't it?
Yeah, very good point.
yeah, they were my
Yeah.
my 3 key takeaways. Sorry, one final thing. She's told her team plan for 3 months of weirdness, uncertainty. That's kind of what it took from the first COVID lockdown to things getting some kind of normality again. Ride it out.
Yeah, well, I can see that, and a really good point about the number of households coming off a fixed rate. If for the last decade we have been looked after, and sure we have, 0.1 to 0.5% base rate is
By
a
the
political
way,
decision, even though
I've
it's
lost
not
count.
meant to be.
Lost count the amount of people who talk themselves out of doing something when it's never been so good.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Lost
Yeah,
count.
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. When is the best time to buy property? Always now. The second best time now. The first best time 10 years ago. Always. There's never a bad time. If you bought houses in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, if you fixed your interest rates a couple of months ago, even, well done. But now you're buying in a different cycle, maybe for different reasons. I'm interested. I'll tell you what we should talk about today, because we talked about it at the end of the last video when the cameras went off. We talked about this, and we've talked about it with clients since, and we've not talked about it on camera yet. We've both got a house on the same street, and
Yeah, you did mention it.
Did we?
Yeah,
We worked out that when buying this house, the idea is a property's return, the total property return, isn't just about cash flow. Cash flow hasn't been damaged that much. It's a little bit less, but hey, rates aren't 0.1% anymore. Of course, it's going to be a little bit less, but interest rates haven't gone that high. Interest rates, payable product rates haven't gone that much higher than what they were. Rents have gone up. Actually, when you look at it overall, I'm about the same as I was. Some of the gap, some of the margin, the profit on the bottom, the bottom line has gone up more. Tell you what, something else, and get on a discovery call if this applies to you, because you need to sort this out now. Section 24 tax, and this is something I would hope, if any of our landlords are listening to this and you're still paying Section 24 tax, you're not in a limited company, come on another discovery call, get that situation bottomed out, because as it means that you can't claim the interest on the mortgage isn't an allowable expense, so you're going to be effectively taxed on turnover, and as interest rates go up, that's going to become more and more damaging. Anyway, I've diverted. I've gone off on 2 tangents. The thing that we were talking about is your total property return isn't just the cash flow, although that hasn't actually been affected that much. Don't panic about it. The main thing, and I've never forgotten this, but I think some of our clients have, and I think that some of the conversations moved away out, over the last 5, 6, 7 years. The main thing is capital growth, not just the capital growth over the period of time you own it. And the house we were talking about, we worked out it had made it's just a normal bog standard house, £1,300 a month in capital growth. Now, how you access that? It's not like you can go to a cash put machine and get it out. How you access that? That's sale or refinance. They're the only 2 ways. You're probably only going to check in on that number once every year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, the end of a deal. But still, it's there, and it's a very, very real number. And if you have 10 houses or more, it becomes a very, very real number.
And funnily enough, some people say, well, yeah, but I want the cash flow, I'm not so bothered about the capital growth. And I said, but you also said you wanted to create a legacy. Mm-hmm. Well, what better legacy to create, right?
I just want a boat in Monaco.
Yeah, but, we're not all like you.
Actually, just to clarify, I don't want a boat in Monaco at all. I'm not a Monaco person.
I'm going to have a dinghy in Skeg.
No. Yeah. My boat, no more than 60 foot, otherwise you can't get in places, and you wouldn't see me in Monaco. I'd be in some secluded beach somewhere, so don't want to give the wrong impression.
They wouldn't let you in.
No, they wouldn't let me in, no, you're absolutely right. So, there's some good stuff in there, I think. Is there anything else we need to conclude with?
I don't think so.
We're happy about this.
Yeah, we're happy.
Very, very happy. The number of opportunities coming up in the next 2 years is going to be more than it has been in the last 2 years. We've been struggling as investors to buy property. We have been struggling for the last. We've managed. Don't feel too sorry for us, and we've made some very good capital gains as prices have gone up as well. Made some good cash flow, but actually the business of buying properties has been slow. It's been hard work. Because when we buy a property, we've got to buy a bargain. We're looking at death, divorce, debt, distress, whatever the thing, and we're not taking advantage. It's not one of those things. It's just we are the market makers with that. We are the ones that fill the gap when it needs to, when something needs to move. We're the ones that can fix a chain, or we're quite often the white knight. That opportunity is going to come up more and more often. Leave you with one final thing. Every time you buy a house, and I've never forgotten this is the main reason I buy a house, and when I talk about buying more and going more and keeping going, we don't pay what it's worth. The end value, we're always looking for a margin, so that margin there is your equities. The end value brings you get your margin, you work out what you're going to spend on the thing, and that's your offer price. So there's your offer. You've got to spend some more money on renovation, but there is your margin. Every time you buy that house, there's your margin, and it varies. On cheap small houses, it's a few £10,000. On bigger houses, it gets to be more. That's something else to think about. Maybe buy more expensive houses to make bigger capital gain. If that the stress test will make sure you're kept sensible on that. The rental stress test, but that is the main the thing we're looking to do every single month. That's the business. That's the thing we take forward.
Bigger houses, you create more equity instantly after the renovation. The smaller, cheaper ones, you'll probably get more cash flow on the money compared to what you've put in.
We call them firecrackers. They're really cheap stuff because they'll pop some point. They'll go off, and the house will go from 75,000 to 125,000 quite quick. But you don't know quite when it's going to go. Is it going to go this month, next year, 18 months? It'll go. It's about that time. But when you're looking at the end value, when we're looking at what it's worth at the end. It's not that clear cut. Whereas if you're spending £200,000 on a house, it's a terrace house with lots of other £200,000 houses with owner occupiers in them. There's a resale market. The comparable, it's gold plated almost. You can look at it and go, that within £5,000, that's what that house is worth. And therefore, when you come to revalue it at the end, you're very much more certain. Plus, a percentage, 1%, 5%, 10%, is more cash, isn't it? And if it's about making cash in one transaction. Anyway, we're in danger of drivelling on. Don't want to do that. I'm going to wrap up now. No, never happened. I'm going to mention a couple of things. So please subscribe. Please click the bell for the notifications. Please leave some comments about this video and your next questions. Can you also do something for me? This is a particular format, and I like it. Ask me, or ask the topical conversation. It's an excuse to have a conversation in front of the camera about the things that are going on now. And I think it's evergreen because of that. We can have this conversation 10 years from now, and it'll be a different conversation because we'll be talking about different things. There are times when I get in front of the camera and I'll just record like a thought of the day. We've got a picking up the keys video where you get to see inside a property we've just bought. We've got a finished property video, which is all done, and you can follow it through between the picking up the keys and the finished. I've got a couple of other ideas. We've had a brainstorming session. I don't know if you know my story. You'll get to hear it more as we talk about it. But one of the things in my quite distant now past is I had a complete shambles of a property portfolio, and I was a very miserable landlord. And a chap called Craig, he's our lettings director, came in and fixed that for me. And we've got an idea for another video series like this, which is going to be Tell Me Something I Didn't Know. And there's plenty that I didn't know. And I want to get Craig's experience in front of the camera. We've got a renovations team, we've got an accounts team, collecting rent and doing paperwork and legal and compliance. If anybody can think of a new series, and it's not just format, something else that we can talk about regularly, stick it in the comments, send us an email. We're very interested. We want to create a channel full of different types of content, talking about different things, the whole A to Z of being a landlord. Some of you lads, I know you're not all interested in building property empires and taking over the world. You want to run a really solid, stable property empire, smaller, medium-sized, whatever it is, but not grow anymore. You've got to where you want to be, and there's massive value. I had a good conversation with the client about massive value in knowing where enough is. I actually do know where enough is. I know I joke about it, but I know where I'm heading. and it's important to know that. I've not got there yet, but it's important to know where enough is, and we're supporting landlords growing, but also doing an excellent job in what they've already got as well. So now I am dribbling on.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Bye bye.
Bye.